Hi, welcome to my channel, Aline's Visit. I'm Aline, a French guide. I'm presenting you art pieces, museum, but also places. Did I told you that I can give you tips about nice restaurants in Paris and around and introduce you to the French table etiquette. I can also present you French fashion, history of French fashion, and I can help you to find the best vintage shops in Paris. I can also propose kids-friendly and elders-friendly tours in Paris and around. As your private guide, all my contacts are in the description below. But today, let me invite you to a miraculous wedding, Venetian style. During the 16th century, the Republic of Venice was a powerful and prosperous region welcoming merchants from all over Europe and the Near East, thus influencing the eyes of the painters established there. Two artists were the most admired. One was the great Titian, the second was Tintoretto. Their contribution to artistic revival was huge in their use of oil on canvas, their focus on color as opposed to the line, exactly like Paolo Caliari. When he arrived in Venice with his crew and his brother Benedetto Caliari, he was already famous for different works he delivered in Verona, his birth city, and of course, for the Venetians, he will be known under the nickname Veronese, the one who come from Verona. In 1562, the Benedictine monastery of San Giorgio Maggiore in Venice just got renovated, and the monks were looking for an artist to decorate the dining room. Veronese was highly praised by the Cardinal Daniele Barbone, for whom he just finished another commission. The subject of the painting to be represented in the refectory was the first miracle of Jesus. According to the St. John's Gospel, Jesus and his mother were guests at a modest wedding in the little village of Cana. When the wine ran out, Jesus, at Mary's request, performed his first miracle, turning water in wine. The contract finalizing the commission of this painting was signed in June 1562. And it mentioned that the painting had to be delivered for September 1563, so 15 months later. And the painting had to have the same dimension than the wall of the refectory. Since the wall was about 10 meters long by 7 meters high, the whole team of Paolo Caliari, Veronese, had to work very swiftly on this commission. The painting had to be executed on a canvas stretched on the frame because of the dampness of Venice, the city being built on the laguna, so a fresca on the wall was out of question. So why did Veronese insisted to have the right to paint as many characters as possible in this painting? Why adding difficulty to this already challenging task? Veronese knew that this monastery was welcoming guests from all over Europe. Therefore, they would have the opportunity to admire his work in the refectory, and maybe other commissions could arrive. First, the decor. In the upper part, the scene is echoing the Palladio building, showing its beautiful vertical geometry. The elegant columns draw our gaze into the distance in the pure blue sky dotted with few clouds. In the lower part of the painting, we are looking at the largest painted banquet table in the history of art. 132 characters are vividly depicted, so the modest wedding feast at Cana became a theatrical Venetian-style wedding like it could have occurred elsewhere in the Republic of Venice. The Venetian passion for pantheism led the artist to combine the sacred and the profane in this canvas. In this painting, we can admire altogether portraits, sacred scene, genre scenes, still lifes. Veronese, by the composition, also managed to capture altogether the events of this miracle. The lack of wine, the servant busy filling the jars on the bottom right and then serving a few glasses, and one to the groom on the bottom left, a man standing in the middle expressing his astonishment among servants busy to serve the guests, while the bride and the groom are relegated to the left of the banquet table. Christ is sitting motionless in the center with a fixed gaze and a luminous face. Look, he's the only one staring in our direction. To his right, Mary, with a black veil upon her head, perhaps to remind us the future death of her son, is grasping a shadow glass to represent the lack of wine. Just above Jesus, two butchers are occupied to cut a piece of lamb meat. The lamb, isn't it the symbol of the sacrifice of the Son of God? The crowd below seems oblivious to this very symbol. Veronese is mixing sacred and profane symbols and is also managing to make of this painting a perfect advertising for him and his fellow artists. Look, in front of Jesus, just in the center of the painting, drawing your attention toward them, 4 musicians are entertaining the crowd. From the first fiddle on the left, clockwise, I'm presenting you Veronese himself, Bassano, Tintoretto, and Titian with the bass. But Veronese also portrayed some Renaissance princes and a famous friend of Titian, the poet and dramatic author Pietro Aretino, who died few years before the painting was made. And to complete this already crowded scene, 6 dogs, a cat, and a parrot are also participating to the feast. Can you find them? Can you see the little one on the table? Bassano, Titian, and Veronese were the first to paint animals and to include them in their compositions. Dogs and cats served to reinforce or underscore the interpretation of the scenes depicted. Veronese, who did not paint them from nature, nevertheless painted them with loving attention, clearly conveying his own feelings towards animals. And did I tell you about the pigment used for this painting? Veronese used a lot of mineral pigments, including semi-precious stone grounded very thinly, lapis lazuli for the sky, jasper and malachite for the costume of the guests. Veronese, putting together sacred and profane symbols in the composition of his painting, will be facing an Inquisition court in 1579 for another painting featuring the Last Supper. Veronese then claimed the liberty to add supplementary characters to those strictly necessary for the story, saying, "We painters are taking liberties like poets and madmen." Quite a bold attitude in front of the Inquisition, I may say. At the end of the 18th century, when Napoleon decided to take and bring this painting to France, this was easy, since the painting was on canvas and not a fresco on the wall. It arrived in France with 600 other art pieces. And it's still in the Louvre, while a very nice copy of it has taken place in the very refectory of San Giorgio Maggiore, allowing visitors to admire this miraculous Venetian wedding. Well, did you enjoy this wedding? I hope so. So give me a thumbs up, subscribe, leave me a comment. And I remind you, I can guide you in French, Italian, Mandarin Chinese, and English, of course. So, welcome to France. See you next time.